And welcome back to the Daily Wrestling Match. I mean the Daily Wrap. An 11-year veteran of the Army Special Forces is being kicked out after he stood up for a young rape victim and his beaten mother in Afghanistan. The incident happened in 2011 as Sergeant First Class Charles Martland was serving in the Kunduz province, where he learned an Afghan police commander he trained had raped the young boy. Martland and his team leader, Daniel Quinn, confronted the Afghan officer, who allegedly also beat the boy's mother, for reporting the rape and pushed him to the ground. The Afghan officer, who only suffered a few bruises, reported the incident to the U.S. military, who immediately chose to discipline the two Army officers. Long story short, team leader Quinn quit the military, while Martland fought to continue to be a Green Beret, but is being involuntarily discharged from the Army. Now, Congressman Duncan Hunter has rushed to the aid of Martland, penning a letter to Secretary of Defense Ash Carter that says, in part, "Mr. Secretary, I personally ask that you review the details of this case and intervene immediately. Sergeant First Class Martland, stood up to a child rapist, which I am fully confident you believe is the right thing to do, and the fact that he will soon be involuntarily separated as a result is troubling." I would say that's quite an understatement. Let's go to our Navy SEAL first. What do you make of this story?
Well, I think we should default to this one, since she's an expert
don't start.
on
Answer
military
my question.
affairs.
Answer my question.
I believe that this is the same defunct administration that has seeped into the DOD, that all these DOD executives are all politicians and not warfighters. And what we see here is an individual that rose to the occasion to defend a young child, and now he's suffering from the same incompetent leadership in the DOD that is so spun up on women being in the Rangers and in the SEAL teams, that they don't look. They don't. No. Listen, this is completely related. It is executives in the DOD that are more concerned with appeasement and with fairness than they are with what's an effective leader.
Help us understand something. I assume there must be some silly rule they're applying here that suggests if you push another officer, you're in trouble. Is that what this is about?
This guy was an Iraqi officer.
He was in Afghanistan, wasn't he?
Or Afghanistan. I'm sorry, Afghanistan. Look, in war. See, this is the thing. In wartime, things have to be looked at individually. I've talked to several guys who are over in the same area. They've seen this. It's a common thing for these either military or law enforcement Afghanis to be raping young boys. Right? They think it's funny. One guy I know literally beat the soup out of somebody for doing it. Nothing was said, and then when he got out, it was in his record. So, see, here's what the reason I'm linking these two things is the fact that you have to look at each individual thing separately and say, was this person doing what was effective at that moment? The same thing with the females going through this training, which I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but the reality is you have to look at these things and say, is this effective for the war-fighting machine? And when they're in battle, when they're in a war zone, you have to allow these people to do their job.
So, Nomi, you know, when I read this story, which I have to tell you absolutely left me aghast, I couldn't help but think about the Marines down in, where was it, Tennessee, where one of them is in trouble because when they were attacked by a terrorist, he fired back, and he's in trouble now because he wasn't supposed to have a weapon in his hands on the base. Are we getting, I mean, is the service getting carried away with enforcing rules that just don't make sense? The guy fired back to protect his friends, his fellow Marines.
I think that every soldier has a right to challenge this in a court of law. I mean, they do have that right. So if you do want to take it on a case-by-case basis, I mean, I don't write the rules. I don't know how the rules are written, to be honest. But that should be something, sure, leaders, I mean, there's a breakdown in our military from rape within the military of women in military to who's representing us in the military. There's a culture that's not working, and it does need to be assessed, and it has to be analyzed, and I think that these rules
and it starts in the academies. It really starts in the academies with the leadership that they pump out. It's become more of a social engineering program in these academies than it has. They've stopped focusing on leadership and building disciplined leaders.
So, Joe, you know what else popped into my mind as I was reviewing this story? We hear these stories more and more these days about little kids at elementary school who carry a plastic squirt gun, and they end up literally being handcuffed by police officers, literally handcuffed, and they're 5 years old. Is this whole PC thing, I don't know, and maybe that's not the right way to define it, but whatever it is it getting so out of control that it's starting with kids in school and going all the way up through our military?
I know we haven't said the T word, pretty much yet during
What's
the
the
show.
word?
Trump. And why
We'll
he's,
get there, I promise.
Yes, he will. Why he's resonating so much is because he's so anti-PC. And even when he was called out for saying anchor babies, he says, I'm going to say the term. Find me a better term. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kowtow to this. And that's what's making him so popular, because people are sick of this sort of thing, like you've said. Getting back to the story, I'm sorry, there's something missing here.
Yeah.
There's something that's not being, just because you push somebody to the ground, then you're out of the military?
That's what I want.
I don't get it.
I'm telling you, the other guy that I know that the same thing happened to him, where he woke up to this happening and he went out there and just blasted the guy. It was no more than that. He physically, he saw what was happening. He took care of it. He stopped it. He came back, was written up for. He didn't even know he was written up for.
Quite frankly, if it was me, I think I'd feel compelled to do more than just push the guy to the ground.
Right.
But see, that's the problem. We are mixing the State Department and their different policies with what happens in the military. And when we go over there, you cannot simply appease everyone, especially when you're sending people who live by our code of ethics here, and you send them in that war zone, and they see that happen, they're going to react.
Just saying, Jonathan, it just seems like there's something political at play here that
There
we're
is.
not
Very
hearing
weird
about.
here.
Maybe it was
No,
a
I mean
third
with these
strike
officers, with
situation.
Martland and Quinn, as if maybe there was some sort of past history.
Well, I'll tell you what, we
I don't know.
will keep everybody who's watching apprised of the story as it goes along. I want to see what Ash Carter does about this, and maybe we'll get some more details, because this is just not right, the way it appears right now.
Whole bowl of wrong.
So, all right, we want to know what you think, as we always do. Do you think the Green Berets should be kicked out of the Army? And given this kind of a discharge, it just strikes us as wrong. Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. And then coming up next, will Donald Trump, I promise, be the 2016 GOP presidential nominee? Stay tuned. We're going to give you the answer.